So excited to be with you guys today. I'm Dr. Trevor Hislop. So today we're actually going to do a part two of the work that we started last week together. So if you joined us last week, or if you haven't, you can go back and look at the episode we did last week for Faithful Friday, and it was around the idea of alignment, finding alignment for our mind, body, and spirit. So today, just wanted to pick up where we left off and actually kind of take it one step further. So last time we talked about some of the principles, some of the concepts around alignment, why it's so important, why it matters in our lives, what happens when we think about our alignment of our beliefs and our behaviors, or the alignment of our values and our actions, or what happens when they become misaligned. When they're misaligned, there's tension and there's friction between the two. We are designed just in our humanity for cohesion, for congruency. And so actually God's design for us, and we talked about this last week, is that there is alignment. There is alignment that what's happening on the inside gets expressed on the outside. That what we believe actually gets played out in our lives every day. The things that matter most to us in our values are the things that we prioritize with our schedules, with our budgets, in our relationships. Okay, so today we want to just pick up on this again. God's design for us with congruency. It's not about compartmentalization. Compartmentalization is to be able to say they're all unique and they're all separate, but congruency is to be able to say our thoughts, our actions, our feelings, our spiritual life, it's all connected. And it's not, I think it's important for this. We've talked about this in the last episode. It's not necessarily about perfection. It's not about just getting it all right all the time. It's about staying connected. That's what it's about. So today in part two, we're going to, again, as I mentioned, go just a little bit deeper. And we're going to talk about not just how we find alignment, but how we stay aligned in a world that constantly pulls us in different directions. So as we think about this, I want to start with a passage. We'll look at Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 through 30. Many of you might know this passage, but I want to read it from a different version. We're going to look at it through the lens of the Message, the paraphrase. And it says this. It says, "Are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burnt out?" And then it's an invitation from Jesus. He says this. He says, "Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. Walk with me. Work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace." I love this paraphrase, right? Just the way that it puts it into a very practical, kind of modern, uh, descriptive way for us. If you know the traditional version of this, if you look at one of the translations in NIV as an example, it says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened," or some versions say heavy laden. I love it in this, right, where it talks about, are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burnt out? Come to me, get away with me to recover your life. One of the things that really sticks out to me in reading this paraphrase is the phrase unforced rhythms of grace. And that's actually what we're going to be talking about today. These rhythms of grace. Because alignment, that's what alignment is supposed to feel like. It starts to feel like this, again, this rhythm of grace. It's not about striving. It's not about performing. It's not about fake it till we make it. It's not about forcing it, right? Just these grace-filled steps that we take to live out our lives. So in this, Jesus invites us. He invites us to walk with him. I think it's interesting. He doesn't say run with me. He says walk with me. We're not sprinting. He also doesn't say stop with me. This idea that it's some kind of collapse, right? When he talked about, are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burdened? What I love about uh, that idea of walk with me is that there's a pace to it, right? A sustainable rhythm, in sync, in alignment. And we think about that. That's really the pace of spiritual formation, right? Not just moments of inspiration when we go from mountaintop to mountaintop experience, but it's this lifestyle of integration, right? This day in and day out, integrating our faith, our beliefs with our everyday actions, right? Our behaviors. So as we talk about this by these rhythms of grace, I think it's helpful that we spend a few moments to just talk about like what might be some of the challenges or the obstacles, the things that maybe kind of keep us from or get in the way of. So one of the things is pretty common is this idea of what we know as over functioning. Over functioning is I just have to stay busy. I have to do more. Right? There's something that's pushing us or driving us. It's when we carry more than we're capable of or more than we're called to. We lose connection with our limits, with our bodies, and it's really the work of boundaries. We did a whole separate challenge uh, in our coaching platform on boundaries. If you've never done that, I encourage you to go find the boundaries challenge. It's talking about this. One of the things it mentions in there is around what happens when we over function. So that's a barrier. It's a barrier to these rhythms of grace. Another one is emotional avoidance. Like when we suppress our emotions, when we shove them down, when we ignore them, rather than process them, talk about them, right? If we're incongruent and if we are misaligned, right? This emotional avoidance, we're not allowing ourselves to do the work. Like we create this inner dissonance, this inner disconnect. And we're talking about beliefs and behaviors. Somewhere in the midst of that, these emotions that they come up and show up. CBT talks about the sequence of thoughts and feelings and behaviors. So this space of feelings is really important to this work of alignment. I think it's important for us to consider as another barrier is what we might call spiritual compartmentalization. When we silo our faith, what I mean by silo our faith, that faith is something we just do on Sunday mornings. That faith is just a discipline we have when we open our Bibles or when we're committed to pray before dinner time. Right, we've spiritually compartmentalized when we have separated. There are certain times and there are certain days that I connect with and I express my spirituality. It feels like compartmentalization rather than saying, but what if I could live from a place of congruency, from a place of wholeness, to be able to say, hey, spirituality is a core part of who I am as a person. And so I don't want it to be compartmentalized. I want the opposite. I want it to be congruent. I want it to be fluid. All right, when I'm looking through the spiritual lens, I'm looking through my soul in everything that I do all day, every day, not just on Sunday mornings and not just in my quiet times with the Lord. Okay, another common barrier to alignment is people pleasing. Like when we say yes out of fear rather than taking some assessment through the lens of faith. People pleasing is another part of boundary work. I referenced our boundary challenge, and that's also included in there. So people pleasing simply comes down to this idea of when I please people, I matter more. Or what people say I am. Or when I'm in the good graces of people, I'm okay. And when I'm not in their graces, I'm not okay. And I think many of us feel this pressure and this push. And essentially it becomes sort of this poor attempted solution. If I could just keep everybody happy in my life, I'll be okay. But what we find is there's some kind of rat race that happens, whether that's the internal anxiety and worry that we have inside, or whether that is the way that it plays out in our busy schedules, our time commitments, and the lack of or overstepping of boundaries over and over and over, which is incongruent with who we are as people. So, oftentimes, when we feel, as I mentioned, this these barriers, right? It shows up for us as I feel anxious, I'm exhausted, I'm irritable. For some people, it's like it's the lack of feeling. We might call that numb, and that's just simply like our body, our system, our think about it like a computer, like operating system. It's just telling us something. There's a warning. There's feedback that's coming that says, "Hey, something's off." So here's what happens when we live out of rhythms of grace. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Uh, we feel differently. Like we feel at peace. We feel calm. Like things become easier. Right? There's no need to overfunction. There's no need to make sure that everyone in our lives is okay, so therefore we can be okay. There's no need to avoid, shove down, and suppress all of our emotions. There's no benefit to compartmentalizing what we believe to certain times during our day or during our week, but rather live it out every day. So let's talk about this idea of practical integration. Okay, so here's some examples of rhythms that help us realign. And I'm thinking about this in a way of like daily rhythms, okay? Things that we can do continually, we can do sustainably, we can do repeatedly. The first one is this: stillness with the Spirit. When I mean the Spirit, I mean just spending time with God. This actually is a spiritual discipline. If we look at the spiritual disciplines, there's this discipline of silence. So create space today, every day, even if it's just 5 minutes, just for silence with God. No agenda, like just awareness. Like makes me think of the book of Psalms. I think it's Psalm 46, where it says, "Be still and know that I am God." I think what's important about stillness is not doing nothing or the absence of doing something. Stillness is actually intentional, and it can be very personal. Stillness is not empty space. It's actually like this sacred space. And so let's treat it as such. Could you do that? Set out 5 minutes today or every day where you're simply going to be still and know that He is God. What if we could actually do more listening than speaking? We think about our prayer life. Our prayer life is often the way that we think about this is how we speak to God. But without moments of silence, right, we kind of miss out on the opportunity of the other core competency in communication, right? Our ability to listen. Okay, so one of the realigning rhythms is stillness with the Spirit. The next one is this movement of the body. Now, what do you mean by that? It's this idea that God created us and designed us with a physical body. Like Scripture talks about this as this is the dwelling of the Holy Spirit, right? Like our physical body. So this, I think, for many of us, when we hear about that movement of the body, we think about that we have to perform, we have to show up, we have to accomplish, and that's not what I'm talking about. Right? This isn't about like make sure you get a hard workout in every day, that you close your rings and that you get to a certain heart rate. No, this is not about performance. It's not about production. It's just about presence. So these would be the simple things, the rhythmic things of every day, go for a walk. Every day, take some deep breaths. Every day, kind of just check in with your physical self. For some, that might include stretching. For some, it might include some favorite hobby, which requires them to move. So they're going to go for a bike ride, or they're going to hike, or they're going to, here in Florida, we would go surfing or paddleboarding or whatever that might be, right? Movement for the body is every bit a rhythm that realigns us. Okay, the third one is this reframing of the mind. All right, the Bible talks about that, like hold every thought captive. It talks about the renewing of our mind. In therapy, we talk about CBT and we talk about cognitive reframing or cognitive reappraisal. So think about it this way, in just a very practical way. Every day, ask yourself something like this. What lie am I tempted to believe? And what truth am I going to replace it with? Okay, now that doesn't mean that you're giving into that lie, but if you were to every day just kind of check in with yourself and you're going to reframe your mind, chances are there's things that you're telling yourselves that aren't true. Chances are there are things that play in your mind over and over and over that have gone unchecked, unchallenged, and unchanged. So this rhythm to realign is, again, this idea of reframing of the mind. Check in with yourself. Right? In this case, what lie am I tempted to believe? And then replace it with something true. Okay, how about this one? A rhythm that helps us realign boundaries of the heart. Boundaries of the heart. Like it might be something that says that allows us to be able to say yes to something that is life-giving, yes to something that is fulfilling to us, something that is deeply meaningful to us, something that brings purpose to us. But it also might require us to say no to the things that drain us, no to the things that suck the life out of us, no to the things that really are incongruent and inconsistent with our beliefs and with our values. So realignment really begins with subtraction, not addition, right? In order for us to say yes to something, we have to be able to say no to something first. All right, how about this next one, which is Sabbath of the soul. Now, I think many of us, we know the idea of Sabbath. Sabbath is this idea of rest. We understand from the biblical narrative, Sabbath happens on the seventh day, right? Where do we get that from? Well, in the creation story, it said on the seventh day, God rested. Traditionally, Sabbath, we would understand, is actually Saturday. However, in our modern communities of faith, many of us Sabbath on Sunday. But the principle of Sabbath is not just relax one day of the week. It's actually far more than that. It's the idea of having intentional and purposeful times to rest, moments of renewal. And this really important part for alignment is reconnection to the things that matter most. Sabbath helps us refocus. It helps us recenter. So whether that is a part of a rhythm you have about going to church on Sunday, or maybe you've got a day off during the week, the idea is that it's restorative to all the things that we mentioned, right? Allowing us time for stillness, allowing us for movement of our body, allowing us for times of the reframing of the mind, allowing us to set boundaries and evaluate and follow up on those. And right, this idea of Sabbath is so important, again, because it's a part of this greater work of restorative rhythms. All right, so here's what I would love for you to do. We're going to wrap this up with something reflective and something actionable. So I would encourage you to, first of all, take a deep breath. And I just want you to respond, maybe just internally, to these few questions. Ask yourself questions like this. Like this first one: what rhythm have I neglected lately? Something that has been helpful for you to stay grounded, something that has been meaningful you for this idea that it's been restorative. It's helping you recenter and realign in your life. Maybe that's something we can identify. Specifically, it's something spiritually or something mentally or cognitively or something physically, right? In mind, body, and spirit. Okay, then this question: what practice realigns me with God and with who I truly am? What practice realigns me with God and who I truly am? That reminds me of one of the things that is so restorative to me. As I mentioned, we're here in Florida. Our clinics are in Central Florida, just off the Atlantic coast. And so when I have opportunity, what I mean when is I have to actually be intentional to do this. I drive over to the coast and I take my sandals off. I put my feet in the sand. I can feel the grittiness of it. I can feel the warmth of it. I walk down towards the beach, and I can smell and even sometimes even taste the salt in the air. I can feel the breeze coming off the ocean. I can hear the waves crashing in, and I can look out and I can see what almost is like this endless amount of water, the ocean, right? Like as far as I can see, there's just this vastness all the way to the horizon. And certain times at certain places, what's so cool about if you look out over the ocean, you can actually see the slight curvature of the earth, right? If you get this like wide scope view of the ocean in front of you. So why do I share all this? Because this is one of my practices that realigns me to God and who I truly am, right? The incredible nature of God and how I am created, like all of the creation that I'm experiencing when I'm sitting there at the ocean. I am designed and I am created. And I'm in harmony and I'm in unison, right, with all of it. So again, what practice realigns me with God and who I truly am? And then this last question: what might I need to release, to return to the unforced rhythms of grace? Okay, for some of us, if we think about this question, you're not even sure that you've ever found those rhythms of grace. And maybe that's part of this opportunity as you're listening to this today. Finding your rhythms of grace. For others of you, this question is very applicable. What do I need to release or what do I need to let go of in order for me to return to the unforced rhythms of grace? Back to this idea of what might I need to say no to, stop doing, give up, give away, delegate, whatever it might be, because it's a hindrance to me from finding my way back to these rhythms of grace. All right, so the practical part of this in Live Well Coaching, we have created and are offering this free challenge called the Alignment Challenge. It's a 2-week challenge. We're actually in the middle of it right now. We just finished week 1. We're just a couple days into week 2. So whether you're catching this video in real time, you can jump in and you can join us and every day for the next 14 days. If you're catching this in the future, just know that that resource is in the coaching platform. You can go find it. It's free, again, called the Alignment Challenge. All right, it's been great to be with you guys today. Hope this has been meaningful for you. Would love to hear your responses to these questions. Would love to hear more about how this has been helpful for you, again, to make this shift to these renewing, restorative rhythms of alignment in your life. Have a great weekend, everyone.